comment from you on what happened in Akwetia. It appears all is set. You have produced a candidate already. The NDC has produced a candidate tonight, except that the one who was the contestant in the last election, I don't know if you've heard, has just lost to his own lawyer. I don't know if you have a comment about Akwetia, the by-election, before we talk about Kojo.
No, I don't have a comment. We chose to go for a consensus candidate, so we did a lot of internal consultation, and we were happy that the party avoided an internal competition and settled on the treasurer, Asumedu, who is now on the ground engaging with stakeholders, and we're hopeful for a good outcome on election day.
Very well. The government has announced the price of cocoa, and it says it is a figure so huge that perhaps not many governments may have done this in the past. 62+% increment if they were going by the exchange rate that you left behind at the time you were leaving office during the pricing window. What's your comment on that?
First of all, Sandra, you recall the finance minister a few days ago in Parliament argued that we should not be quoting local contracts in dollar terms. This cocoa which is being bought from farmers at the farm gate is bought in cities. Why are they so busy quoting in dollars? It's because they want to hide. I keep telling you guys that the NDC is fond of hiding things with English and different nomenclature. They bring an 8% levy. They tell you that it's 1 Ghana cedi per liter. They bring a new tax. They tell you it's only an extension of a sunset clause. There have been several instances where the NDC does one thing and changes the name and wants you, the journalist, to be hoodwinked by. They bring a loan of $360 million and they say it's a financing agreement. So please be careful. The question is, what is the change in price of a cocoa bag to the cocoa farmer? That's the question. There's no cocoa farmer in this country today, this evening, listening to you, whether from Ofuase or from the Western North region, who is interested in an FOB price or anything to do with it. The question they're asking is, what is the change in a bag of cocoa in terms of price between the earlier price and what has been announced today? And Sandra, the change is from 3,100 Ghana cedis per bag to 3,228 Ghana cedis. That's a change in 128 Ghana cedis per bag. This comes at a time when the NDC had promised them, when in opposition, that the actual price was supposed to have been 6,000 then. So if this is to be followed, then what the NDC is indirectly telling us is that if they had put the price at 6,000 then, today they'll be announcing a reduction from 6,000 to 3,228. Does anybody believe this? That's hogwash. It tells you clearly that a lot of, and indeed, particularly on the matter of cocoa pricing, the major things that they said when they were in opposition were untrue. Today they are in power, and they cannot even afford a decent 5 or 10 or 15% increase in the farm gate price. They are now resorting to these gymnastics that, FOB price, and there is 20% on the in $1. They also said they were in a position that Kojo has no business picking up all these purported expenses. In fact, when the then finance minister designate appeared before Parliament, he said that they have to adjust. So that all these expenses, that's what he described as farmer for the farmer to do his own thing. Today, if you listen to him now, he's now talking about all of those expenses and interventions he's using now to justify why that should be adjusted for the FOB price of cocoa. I want to submit to you in all humility that this government has scammed the Ghanaian cocoa farmer. What he promised in opposition is significantly different from what he's delivering in power. And in power, after he was given the reins of power, he said that he can only afford a 4% increase in the farm gate price of cocoa. I'm sure the Ghanaian cocoa farmer is watching and listening. And as time goes on, we'll take a decision as to whether or not we shortchange them or the NDC has scammed them.
Okay. Let me put this also in context. you do know that if you had 6,000 cedis in December last year or January this year, the value of that 6,000 would not be the same as the value would be in July 2025. And that is what the government is saying. In fact, I'm just looking at a story that we have published a few minutes ago where vehicle prices may drop in 2026. That's according to Automobile Dealers Union. And they say that the prices of vehicles will reduce. And they say that this is due to the revision of monetary policy rate by the Bank of Ghana. And they talk about the strengthening of the Ghana cedi. So if you bought a vehicle for 40,000 in 2024, you may buy it for 25,000 or 35,000 in July. That is the argument the government is making. I mean, I'm looking at based on because I've not done the proper calculation. I'm using 40,000.
Yes, but what you read for me is that they are saying that vehicle prices may.
Yes.
It's because for the major commodities that are being sold and bought in this country, emphasis on major, pricing has not changed. Major commodity pricing has not changed because all of these traders are watching the market. We cannot therefore use this may as a speculation to justify why therefore, if I may land,
yes,
to justify why therefore today, cocoa prices are being increased by only 4%. That does not come in as a justification.
But the 4%, because I didn't land with my question, so it will be difficult for you also to. The 4% may be 4% in truth, but in fact, that 4% would be 62%. And that's what the government is saying. Because if you look at the weight...
62% of what? 62% of what?
Of 3,100. So
Sanda,
that's what I spoke to the...
I come from a cocoa growing village. You spoke to who?
I spoke to the head of corporate affairs of Cocoa Board before you came on the air.
I have been speaking to the head of cocoa purchasing in my village. I'm saying to you in all humility.
Yes.
Come down to the village level and come and ask the cocoa farmer whether this grammar that this person is speaking to you makes sense to anybody here. It doesn't. Have cement bag prices gone down by that same percentage?
But they have gone down. Not
by what? By what?
I don't have that handy, but they have gone down.
I'm saying come down and come and ask the cocoa farmer on the ground. This whole conversation, Sanda, in all humility, the person whose opinion is most important is the opinion of the cocoa farmer. Come and ask him.
But that cocoa farmer would feel that the value of 100 cedis now is higher than the value of 100 cedis when you were
Don't take my word for it. Okay. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the corporate affairs guy's word for it. You come down and ask the cocoa farmer whether this argument makes sense to him. Especially for a political party which, when in opposition, told this cocoa farmer that the 6,000 cedis that they were promising, that 6,000 cedis was what should have been the right price because our 3,100 had shortchanged them. Come down and come and ask the cocoa farmer whether the cocoa farmer then now believes that 3,228, after we had increased it by about 124%, this 4.15%.
You went
justifies for them, if I just may land with my point as well, justifies for them these arguments that are being made. I don't think so. I think the problem that is going on is that the NDC is entrapped by their own words.
Okay.
In opposition, they contrived all sorts of analysis. At the point, they were even saying that we shouldn't use FOB, we should use spot prices.
Okay.
Today, listen to them trying to analyze 23% of this, 40% of. You think that makes sense to the cocoa farmer here? You have sown that seed in the heart and mind of the cocoa farmer. That what you were supposed to get last year is 6,000. How are you coming to explain? I've been speaking to them today. None of this makes sense to them.
Honorable, you went to London School of Economics, I think, way back in 2009. Are you saying to me that depreciation and appreciation plays no role in pricing, and that if the government says it is appreciation that has played a role now, you are saying it's hogwash?
First, I don't go to London School of Economics.
Okay.
I have taken a policy analysis course at London School of Economics. These days of GTech, we have to be very factual.
Okay.
But no, I'm not talking about whether appreciation or depreciation has no impact on pricing or on the economy. I'm saying that two things. One, the framework and standard you set for yourself is the one with which you'll be measured. That is what is happening today. Speak to the farmers. That's what I'm saying. They don't even bother by my opinion. Speak to the farmers. They are using the same framework that the NDC laid when they were in opposition and when they were being backed. That is the framework that is now making the NDC realize that the comments they made in opposition about cocoa pricing were hogwash. That's the first point. Second, as a government, you manage the whole economy. When you get to a point where you realize, for example, that your cocoa farmers are contributing so much to the Ghanaian economy and must be appreciated, but maybe, for example, the pricing on the world market is dipped to such an extent that you may not, or you may even be paying them higher than what you are earning, you bite the bullet, you give them their due. Here's a party which, when in opposition, claimed that they should be given about 70%, not even of FOB, but of spot. Today, they are not even using their own exchange rate. The exchange rate of 10.5, that's not what they are using. They are using 10.25 because they want to shortchange or scam the Ghanaian farmer. They want to give a lower rate so that they can make margins on it. Here's a party which in opposition told the Ghanaian farmer that it's not the business of Cocoa Board to be buying all these inputs and deducting it from the revenue that is accruing on cocoa. Today, they have listed all of those ones and are using it to justify the FOB price.
Okay.
If you use their own formula, by today, they should be talking about $8,040, not $5,040.
Very well.
And that will bring you to about $502 per bag. And if you use the actual rate of 10.5, they should be paying a lot more than 5,100 today. So it's their own framework. You put the numbers into their framework, and you will see that they have scammed the Ghanaian cocoa farmer.
Finally, I'm told you had a meeting, your committee had a meeting with the central bank governor. Is there anything there worthy of sharing with us what he may have been telling you, whether or not the committee is convinced?
I mean, first, let me commend the governor and his team, his full team of technical men. They were with us for several hours today, taking us through all the data sets of the central bank. I think that level of transparency is good. Second, they, among other things, confirmed to us that about $1.7 billion of oil cargo imports were financed through the Gold for Oil program. So, Sandra, if anybody tells you that there was no Gold for Oil program and that there was no barter, it is not true. The Bank of Ghana data sets they brought to us today shows us that about $1.7 billion of oil cargo was financed through the Gold for Oil program, which operated between 2023 first quarter and then the end of 2024. They also, for example, showed us that one of the major reasons for which our city has appreciated is because the external sector is performing very robustly. Gold prices alone have gone up by about 43%, though gold volumes have not even doubled in the first half of this year. We are getting a lot of tailwinds from the extraordinarily high gold prices. Cocoa, for example, cocoa prices, if you look at their trading numbers, have gone up significantly, I think by about 90% or so. And the volumes have also gone up. You know, cocoa is not, planted and harvested in 3 months or 6 months. It's from the previous year's volumes that have been harvested. These two primarily have come together to shore up our reserves, both on the domestic market and then in terms of the net international reserves available to the central bank. About $1 billion worth of FDI flows into the mining sector. And the average is, it takes about 12 months to even conceptualize and make an investment in the mining sector. So obviously that is not from these 6 months. So the high performance of the external sector has made a lot of forex available to the commercial banks and to the central bank. And that's why the central bank has been able to intervene in the market, minimum $1.4 billion as the IMF said. And we are even estimating over $2 billion by the middle of this year. But the bank also admits that there are risks on the horizon because these prices may not stay where they are forever. And therefore, they are beginning a program to hedge about a third of our gold reserves. If we run the numbers, that's about a ninth of our total reserves, because you cannot be sure that these prices that are giving us the tailwinds will stay where they are forever.
Thank you. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Honorable. That's
all the best, Sandra.
Honorable Kojo Nkrumah. He is NPP Member of Parliament for Fosse and Yerebe. He's the ranking member on the Economic Committee of Parliament. Let's talk about education now, shall we?
Director General of the